Welcome to the Soulful Success by Design podcast. I'm Kendra Woods, your host, and a former corporate healthcare executive turned entrepreneur. After battling burnout, I discovered the magic of human design. As a 6'2" splenic projector, I am here to lead you on a journey of self-discovery, self-mastery, and unstoppable growth. So join me as we dive into the world of human design, mindset, energetics, and aligned success. We will talk about the highs and the lows of creating soulful and meaningful success in your life and business on your terms. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Soulful Success by Design podcast, where we dive into mindset, personal growth, and the power of alignment. I'm your host, Kendra, human design guide, mindset strategist, and transformational coach. And today I am super excited because I'm kicking off a brand new series for this month of June called Sovereign Summer, the Breakup and the Becoming. And this month, we're diving into what it really looks like to lead, live, and build from your soul, not from pressure, not from urgency or hustle. And so I'll be taking you behind the scenes of a real-time transformation as I consciously uncouple from all the ways that I've tried to prove, perfect, and push my way to success and fully step into magnetic soul-led leadership. Because this journey of soulful success, it's about becoming. It's about becoming from the inside out as whole women, as leaders, creatives, mothers, daughters, lovers, visionaries, right? We're not just here growing businesses. We're becoming the women who are deeply aligned with our own truth and then leading from that place. So if you yourself are in this season of expansion, of unraveling or reinvention or rebirth, you're in the right place. Or maybe you've been feeling this energy coming on, this energy of like you're about to step over the threshold into this new space, into this new chapter, or you've been feeling this nudge of, okay, it's time for me to step into a different way of being, or you're feeling within you like this feeling of like a breakthrough is coming. This is where you're going to want to be, is in this episode and then the episodes following for this month of June. So let's begin. Let's start talking about this. So right now, like as I mentioned just a few moments ago, I'm in this season of a conscious uncoupling with pressure, with urgency, and with hustle. These frequencies, these energies have been a huge part of my journey since I've been in entrepreneurship and even when I was in corporate, right? Like I was like steeped in these frequencies, in these energies of pressure, of urgency, of hustle. And what I have learned and what I'm unraveling is that pressure often disguises itself as productivity, but it's actually rooted in the frequencies of lack and fear. And so as I unravel this and notice it within myself, that's become so much more clear to me that, okay, this is coming from a space of fear, actually. This is coming from a space of lack. And let me just say this, I've been out of the corporate space now for, I don't know, 8 years. And it's taken a while for me to really, and I'm still deconditioning, but it's taken me a while to decondition from that corporate energy, right? Because that's where I've picked up a lot of this energy from. Is just how I had to show up in corporate, how we are taught that we need to show up in the traditional workplace, right? You've got to show up and make sure that your bosses and your peers know how hard you work, that you are a hard worker. You've got to, overwork yourself. There's pressure to meet deadlines. There's, stress around and expectations around how you're showing up. And so you begin to learn and believe that the way to success is through pressure, through urgency, through hustle. And so what I've noticed again, that when I rush or when I force, right, it's from this place of fear, fear that something won't happen unless I make it happen. And I know you may relate to that too, because in my mind, the way that I used to think is, okay, if I don't hurry up and get this done, or if I don't have some sort of control over this, if I'm not pushing this forward, then it's not going to happen. And so I used to believe that success came from being on all the time, always pushing. And what I'm leaning into right now, just more and more and more, is really giving myself permission to be, giving myself permission to have moments where I just completely turn off, right? We are in the summer right now. I mean, obviously, the summer solstice isn't here yet, but my daughter's out of school. So our schedule's a little more fluid because it's not about getting up in the morning and getting her on the bus and, soccer practice and this and that. So we're in this season right now where there's a little bit more spaciousness. And so I'm really leaning into like on the weekends when it's just, me and my family and we're out by the pool or we are running errands or we're doing whatever, just letting myself be off. And what that means for me is just truly letting myself relax, right? Letting myself sleep in a little bit longer, letting myself just stay in bed all day if I want to, letting myself go out by the pool and just like read a book and play around, being more playful, being more open, going on bike rides, not in my head thinking about, okay, what do I need to do when Monday comes? What's the next launch? Oh, who do I need to respond to? Like just letting go of that altogether and really letting myself be off because what I've noticed and what's coming up is like when I feel like I can't slow down, like how many of you have had that experience where you go on vacation and it's almost like it takes you a full like 24 to 48 hours to just fully sink into the fact that, oh, I'm on vacation. And I've had those moments before where we've been on vacation as a family, and it wasn't until like that second or third day I really felt myself relax. And then by that time, it's like, oh, we've got to get ready to pack up and go home. But I would always get curious about that because I'm like, gosh, why does it take me so long to just like unravel and unwind? And that was always my, I guess, barometer for myself to tell how wound up I was on pressure, on urgency. And what that has said to me and what I've learned is that now I know that when I feel like I can't slow down or those moments where I felt like I couldn't do that, it wasn't discipline. It was actually dysregulation in my nervous system. My nervous system was so dysregulated. And what I mean by that is my nervous system was so used to being on all the time, scanning for potential failures, scanning for potential criticisms, scanning for potential judgments. And the thing that's interesting is until I became aware of this was all happening unconsciously. My nervous system was just looking and scanning, looking and scanning. And I know that it was doing this to try to protect me, obviously, right? To try to protect me from feeling any difficult emotions, to try to protect me from feeling any discomfort. But the thing is, that was why I wasn't able to fully just relax and unwind and just surrender because consciously I would say to myself, like, yeah, I'm going to relax. But really, on a body level, my nervous system was so on edge, like just constantly looking, constantly gripping. Okay. And this is an energetic conversation because so many women are walking around in this world right now, performing and showing up and creating and moving and going through life dysregulated. They are moving from their heads, right? Moving from that headspace and just dragging their bodies along and not really tuning into the fact that, oh, I'm feeling this pressure or, oh, I'm feeling this tightness in my shoulders because my nervous system is dysregulated. Or they're not tapping into the fact that, why do I have this? Why do I feel like I have this mental block? Why do I feel like I don't have any creativity moving through me? Why do I feel so uninspired? Why do I feel so unmotivated? And it's not because they're not doing the things, it's because their nervous system is dysregulated. Their nervous system, it just has not had an opportunity to rest. And so the way that I look at this is like, well, my nervous system is always in the go and on position. What this looks like is driving a car and you are just driving that car gas pedal to the floor, going like 100 miles an hour, and you never give the car a chance to slow down. It's just constant. That engine is just constantly going. And so if we look at your nervous system like an engine in a car, that's what I'm talking about here. It's completely dysregulated. It has no sense of what it means to actually, idle and take the foot off the gas and release the pressure. So when we're in this energy, when we're in this space, it makes it impossible to access true joy, to access true creativity, to really access your intuition. And so I remember like along my journey, I would hear mentors, this has been years ago, I would hear them talk about how they would write a post and they would just talk about how they are just in such a deep gratitude and that they're overwhelmed with gratitude and they're just, overflowing with all this joy and they're just like happy. And I would see that and go, yes, I want that too, right? I want that level of peace. I want that level of joy. I want that level of gratitude. And I used to think to myself, like, okay, so what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not feeling that? Because I wasn't feeling the depth of that. Okay. And I would wonder, like, okay, well, why can't I access that? And now that I'm moving through like this season of just doing even more work of uncoupling and breaking up with this whole like frequency of urgency and pressure, I realize it's because a part of my nervous system was stuck in survival, control, performance. And this has been, I want to say this too, this has been like a gradual unraveling. And through the inner work that I've done over the years, I've unraveled this and unraveled this and unraveled this. And now I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm seeing things because I've created this opening within myself. I'm seeing myself more clearly. I'm seeing my ways and behaviors more clearly. I'm feeling the pressure and the urgency more clearly. And I'm able to really peek beneath the surface and go, okay, I see where this is coming from because I've loosened it up within myself over the several years of doing inner work. That now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, this summer, this season is all about just really letting go of the last bits of remnants of this pressure and needing to feel like I need to be perfect and needing to feel like I need to perform, like just letting all that go. Because even that energy of perfection is rooted in pressure, it's rooted in lack. And so I would notice that with the whole perfection piece, for example, with this podcast, when I first started this podcast, I knew that I wanted to have a podcast for years, for at least 2 years. I was sitting with this idea of I want to launch this podcast. I love, doing video. I love talking. So I'm like, I need to have a podcast. And I sat on it for so long because unconsciously I was like, it needs to be perfect. I need to know what to say. Like, how do I say the things? What if I mess up? What if I say like a weird word? Or what if, I fumble over my words? What if this? What if that? And I would listen to all these podcasts and I would hear how professional they sounded and how polished they sounded and how they would like cue the music up and they would have these commercials. And I got in my head and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way that I can do that. And I've watched myself just evolve as I have moved through this journey of recording this podcast. And in the very, very beginning, I was like, okay, everything needs to be scripted. I need to know exactly what I'm going to say. I need to make sure it comes out exactly in such a way that people understand what I'm saying and that it's clear and that's how I'm professional. And now I'm at a place over a year later where I'm like, you know what? I have some talking points and I'm letting myself just talk. I don't care if it doesn't sound polished or perfect. I don't care if I mispronounce a word or if I fumble over my words a little bit or if I repeat myself because my intention with this is I want this to be like a conversation. If I were sitting with you right now, FaceTiming you or sitting with you on the sofa, I wouldn't be thinking about that. And so back to my point here with this whole perfection piece is that I recognize too that that perfection in me, which was a learned habit, obviously, which was then deepened when from being in the corporate world and just in the world we live in. That perfection piece in me too was all about me trying to protect myself from being judged, criticized. It was about me putting this pressure on myself that was ridiculous, right? Like I would, because of this perfection, I would create these unrealistic expectations and standards for myself. And so then I was taking all this pressure and internalizing it. And what that does when you internalize this pressure is it immediately dysregulates your nervous system. So if you're feeling any of this and you're like, oh, I just feel overwhelmed, or I just feel like this feels so stressful, or I just feel like I don't know what to do, or I feel like I don't have any clarity, or I feel like I can't move, like I know that what I should do, but I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing that? There's some dysregulation happening in your nervous system based on the state that you are in habitually. So if you're in a habitual state of urgency and pressure and force, that's causing dysregulation. And so, anyways, so when I would hear mentors, years ago talk about how they're just like feeling so joyful and business feels easy and, they're flowing and all of this, I had this deep desire of like, yes, that's what I want. And I realized, like looking back, that I couldn't access that because I was stuck in survival. I was stuck in control. I was stuck in performance. Because again, what I learned in the corporate space was like you received a pat on the back. You received positive feedback when you were performing in a way that they approved of, right? And we also see this just in the world we live in. When you show up and you perform in life in a way that makes other people feel comfortable, you get a pat on the back for that. So, of course, it feels unsafe for you to show up and just be present and just be who you are because we don't really get that, what would you call it? We don't get that recognition of, wow, you're just being so authentic. You're just being yourself. You're just, being who you are. I can tell that you're not trying to perform. We don't get that. And so it feels unsafe in the body. So what is happening now is this transition to this becoming that's continuing to unfold of moving through life and business a little bit slower, a little bit softer, more sovereign, more in a mindset of recognizing that I can trust myself and that I am in control, not from not from a I'm in control where it's tight and forced and urgent, but more so of this embodied trust that, okay, I can just be me. That however I show up and how I feel called to show up is perfect. That I can show up and share my ideas and my thoughts and my voice in a way that may not be in this linear, formulaic, step by step way, but that's okay too. Okay, it's about really claiming ownership over your way of being, over your own becoming. And so, as I slow down, as I trust more, as I root into my own rhythm, things are actually moving faster, but with more flow and not force. Because when you're operating from a place of flow and a regulated nervous system and a place of inner trust, when you're moving from that place, you have so much more energy internally. Think about what really gets me is again, reflecting on my own journey, I would say to myself, Kendra, girl, you are using so much energy overthinking launching this podcast. I mean, think about that. I just told you a few moments ago, I sat with this desire to launch a podcast for 2 years. I bought my Yeti mic, bought all the equipment, and it literally sat here in my office for a year. So that was an energetic leak that was just leaking my energy for a whole entire year once I bought this mic. It was just sitting there leaking. And so then if you think about all the other places in your life or business where you're overthinking it, you're leaking energy in those places too. So then that means it doesn't leave you a lot of energy to actually do your soul work, to actually do your mission work, to actually show up in your business the way that you want to. And so then you wonder why you feel overwhelmed and tired and unmotivated because your energy is leaking all over the place. And so when we think about the energetics of control, the control that I'm talking about is rooted in a frequency of fear, right? And the way that I like to look at frequencies is like when we look at the frequency of control, for example, there's a spectrum. There's on one end of the spectrum, you're just like, don't care, whatever, have no boundaries, just completely uncontrollable, unregulated, all over the place, right? And then there's the other side of the spectrum of control where it's all about force and pressure and gripping and urgency and pushing, right? But then there's this beautiful middle space of control where it's more of this embodied presence, where you're neutral, where you are where you know that you have a handle on your emotions, on how you, on not letting yourself go down rabbit holes. You're noticing things. You're in your authority, right? So I feel like that middle ground of this control frequency is authority. You're in your own authority. You're not trying to push it or force it. And then you're not also over here just like being so lax and passive to where you have like absolutely no boundaries whatsoever. You're in your authority. And so when you're trying to like hold everything together, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And it blocks the very thing that you desire, right? It blocks the flow, it blocks the miracles, it blocks the download, it blocks the overflow. And I want you, and I know this has happened to you before, so I want to use this as an example. How many times have you noticed when, let's say, you've gone on vacation, you've had an amazing time on vacation, you are rested, you feel good, and all of a sudden you're getting all these ideas, you're getting this inspiration is flowing. You're like, whoa, like, where is all this coming from? Have you had those moments? It's because you're not operating from a low frequency of control. You are moving more towards that neutral side, that neutral part of the spectrum of control where you're just in your authority, you're present, and you're letting yourself just be open, you're relaxed, you're joyful, like you're not trying to control any outcomes. I see this for me sometimes shows up in the shower, right? I mean, almost every night I take a shower, I get these amazing downloads. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's such a great idea. And I leave my phone like right outside the shower and I'm like, voice memoing, these thoughts that come to me, these downloads that come to me. And it's because you are not in this frequency of trying to perform. You're not in the frequency of you're not in the shower, like pressuring yourself to shower correctly, right? To bathe yourself correctly. And so then, because of that, energy gets to flow. And what I want to land with you today in this conversation we're having here is that this isn't about, you don't need to fix your tendency to control. It's not about fixing it. It's not about like, oh, something's wrong with me. I need to fix myself. What happens is you get to connect to the part of you who already trusts. You get to connect to the part of you who already trusts life, who already trusts herself, who already trusts, God, the divine, the universe. That's what you do. And I do feel like that is something I see in the coaching industry where there's this idea perpetuated that you need to fix yourself. And this is not about fixing. You're whole as you are. You are a whole person. You're a whole woman, right? So you don't need fixing. It's literally about you doing the work to connect with the part of you, again, who trusts herself, connecting to the part of you who knows that she knows what she's doing, connecting with the part of yourself who has this like unshakable faith, who has this unshakable belief in herself. It's connecting to that part of you. And so, what this looks like for me, for example, I really talk a lot about intuitive leadership because that's important to me. I am a splenic projector. So my authority is this, I'm a splenic authority. And so my intuition speaks really soft. It's a whisper. It is a whisper. And I've had to learn to get quiet in order to hear it. And this is the work that so many of us really need to be doing is getting quiet so we can hear ourselves, so we can hear the guidance of our soul. And so, no matter what authority you are, some authorities, and I'm not going to go too deep here in human design, but I understand some authorities, you need to kind of use your voice, right, to hear yourself. But in order to do that, you got to quiet your mind. You got to give yourself permission to use your voice, right? Some of you may be emotional authorities where you need to really be more tapped into your emotions and connecting with your emotions, which means you can't be in your head. But for me as a splenic projector, it's like my spleen, my instinct is in the moment. It's in the now. And if I am stuck all in my head about, well, what if this and what if that, and did I show up okay? And do they understand me? Am I making sense? If I'm all up there, then I can't hear what my intuition is trying to tell me. I can't hear how to move forward. And so meditation has been a part of my journey for over, I would say, like 12 years now. I have been a meditator. And periods where I've gone, a week or 2 weeks without meditating, but then I pick right back up on it. But recently, I have been in this space of, okay, Kendra, we really need to see this and be devoted to our meditation practice because what I'm learning in this season of like becoming undone, what I'm learning in this season of, letting myself break up from pressure and urgency is that it's not about me trying to make myself do certain actions or certain practices because I'm trying to fix myself. It's more so of me looking at this like a devotion and me becoming devoted to my becoming. And meditation is a great way for me to connect with myself. And so I've entered this season where I'm on day 81 of consistent daily meditation. And this commitment has changed everything. I did this once before a few years ago. I went on this journey of like, okay, let me see what happens if I just meditate every single day for 90 days. And it changed so much for me. And then, of course, I kind of, got off track and I was meditating here and there or whatnot. But now I'm like, okay, I need to get back into that because when I meditate from a place of I want to connect to myself, I want to listen, I want to just like breathe and connect to my breath. When I do that, it calms my mind, calms my nervous system, and it allows me to be more of an open channel to hear, to feel, to listen what wants to come through. It, makes me slow down. And from that slowing down and from that tuning in, I can actually move faster. I can hear myself more clearly. I am trusting myself more deeply, leading from presence rather than pressure, right? And that's a whole word in itself because leading from presence requires you to trust that your presence is enough. But again, many of us have learned that that's not the case. We've learned that it's about performing. You've got to perform in order to be enough. And I want to flip that script and tell you, no, sis, your presence, leading from your presence, that's the flex, right? That's the goal, that's the intention. And if you could become devoted to leading with presence, you'll begin to see the world outside of you shift and move and change. Okay. So through this shift, I've also noticed that my client work has evolved. Because if you are in relationship to yourself, feeling like that you need to fix yourself, feeling like that you need to rush your becoming, feeling like you need to rush your success, feeling like you need to force your success, or moving from pressure or moving from urgency, you're going to bring that energy into your client sessions. And it's going to be exhausting. And so what I've noticed is in my client sessions, I've actually become even more relaxed because I recognize that, okay, Kendra, when you go into this client session with client A over here, you're not there to try to fix something. And that was another piece that I recognized in myself. I recognized it in my motherhood experience. I've recognized it in my being marriage experience. I've recognized it in my business. When people come to me with a problem, I would automatically fall into this place of like, how do I fix this? How do I fix it? How do I fix it? How do I fix it? Right? When my daughter would come to me with a challenge, she's a teenager now, she's going through so many changes. And when she comes to me with a challenge or a problem, I noticed that I would immediately jump into how do I fix it? How do I fix it? How do I fix it? And again, that's that pressure, that's that frequency of pressure and force, right? Whereas now it's like, I don't need to fix anything. What if my presence of being here and witnessing and listening and guiding is enough? And so I can allow my clients and hold space for women to feel into who they need to become to move forward. And this is a beautiful sacred shift. And it requires you to regulate your nervous system to be able to sit with someone when they are in the process of unraveling and they're feeling undone. They're feeling like the world's collapsing. They're feeling like they don't have any kind of control. And you're showing up from a place of presence, not to try to fix them, but to help them, to help guide them on this journey, to facilitate them feeling into where they are. And that requires you to give yourself permission to feel into where you are, to connect with your feelings, to be with the uncomfortable feelings, to sit with the discomfort and get used to that. Right. And so this is such a beautiful, sacred shift. And so I have declared that this summer is what I'm calling a sovereign summer. And what this looks like is I'm letting myself become undone, right? Not in chaos, but in truth to who I know that I am. Because what I've learned in business is that your power doesn't lie in the algorithm, it lives in your body, it's in your presence. It's in your ability to stay with yourself when things don't go according to plan. And so for me, as I'm moving forward in this vibe of this of sovereign summer in my business, I'm saying yes to aligned action and not to this idea of manufactured urgency. I am creating from depth and not from performance. I am letting visibility be a devotion instead of like a duty or like something on my to-do list. I'm leading from overflow and not from fear. And I'm trusting that my energy, I'm trusting my energy more than I'm trusting like some formula. And yes, it absolutely feels edgy. It feels so edgy. Because even in this episode alone, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I all over the place? Like, but I'm like, nope, 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 don't go on there. However, this episode flows, it's perfect. So it feels edgy. And yes, my ego wants a blueprint. It wants a blueprint. Right? My ego was like, oh, but but what if people think you're not professional? What if people think this? What if people think that's my ego? And I recognize it and I see it and I honor that part of me because I know that that part of me is just trying to protect me. But I'm choosing to let this feel like play, to let ease be the edge, right? So this is about whole woman leadership. And this journey of becoming and building soulful success is about becoming from the inside out because we're not just business owners. We are mothers, we're daughters, we're partners, we're visionaries, and our desires matter. Our bodies matter. Our rest, our joy, our relationships, our wealth, they all matter. And so this is about leading ourselves first. And from that place, we lead others into truth. So there is no more shrinking, no more waiting to be picked. You are choosing yourself. You are expanding yourself this summer. And it's all about just pure, present, embodied power. And that's what I want for myself, and I want that for you too, because it feels so liberating, to be honest with you. It feels so liberating. And I'm thinking like, wow, okay, this is not hard. It was only hard because my mind was making it hard, right? So if this episode stirred something inside you, if you were like, this feels good, I want to invite you deeper. Come journeying with me inside of Breakthrough to Becoming. It is a 3-session private mentorship experience designed to help you reconnect with your power, release what no longer serves, and rise into your next level leadership with soul, with strategy, and sovereignty. This experience is for the woman who's done with pressure, who's ready to lead from energy, not exhaustion, who wants to feel alive in her life and anchored in her business, and who's ready for deep clarity and transformation. And so, in this experience, you're going to receive 3 powerful private sessions with me, personalized audio support between sessions, such as like EFT audios, hypnosis, or energy coaching, and a container that honors all of you, your spirit, your strategy, your becoming. And so, what you get to do is you can book a mindset clarity call with me to explore if this is your next right step. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for you. I'd love to walk with you on this path. And if you want to come in closer and be in my space and community and connect and go on this journey with me and walk like shoulder to shoulder with me, you're also welcome to join my new Facebook community. It's called Soul Aligned Success. I will also put that link in the show notes. I'd love to see you there and say hi to you. And so if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to know. I'd love to know, like, what are your thoughts? What are you breaking up with this summer? So come find me over on Instagram. I'm at Soulful Success by Design. Come leave me a message and tell me, hey, Kendra, this is what I'm breaking up with this summer. Or hey, Kendra, this is what really landed with me in your episode. Or hey, Kendra, like this is what resonated most. Or maybe you shared in your stories and you tag me, like, let's go on this journey together and share this together and grow together and become together. All right. So that is what I'm going to leave you with today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Soulful Success by Design. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in it, please leave a rating and review on iTunes to help me continue bringing more inspiring content your way. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Soulful Success by Design or visit my website at kendrakWoods.com for extra inspiration and resources. I appreciate you so much and can't wait to connect with you in the next episode. Until then, remember to create success from your soul and on your terms.